Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
to the Planning Commission meeting on September 8th at 7 p.m. The public may attend this meeting in person at the Pinole City Council chambers at 2131 Pierce Street in Pinole, or attend via Zoom teleconference with the details to be provided shortly. And the public can submit a public comment in person at the City Council chambers by filling out a yellow public comment card and submitting it to the city clerk. If you are attending via Zoom, members of the public may submit a live remote public comment via the video conference platform Zoom. You can download the Zoom mobile app on the Apple Play Store or Google Play. If you're using a desktop computer, you can test your connection to Zoom, and this will allow you to also join by phone. The webinar ID is 865-0537-5301. The public may also join via phone by dialing 1-669-900-6833 or 1-253-215-8782 or 1-346-248-7799. Speakers will be asked to provide their name and city of residence, although providing this is not required for participation. Each speaker will be afforded up to 5 minutes to speak. Speakers will be muted until their opportunity to provide public comment. When the chair opens the comment period for the item you wish to speak on, please use the raise hand feature or press *9 if connecting via telephone, which will alert staff that you have a comment, and you can press *6 to unmute. To comment with your video enabled, please let the city clerk know that you would like to turn on your camera once you are called on to speak. Written comments. Please submit your public comments to the planning staff via the meeting via email at dhanham@pinole.gov. Please include your full name, city of residence, and the agenda item there you're wishing to comment on. Other ways to watch the meeting are live on Pinole TV Channel 26. They're telecast the following week. The Community TV Channel 26 schedule is published on the city's website at www.pinole.gov. This meeting is also live streamed off the city's website and will remain archived on the website for 5 years. If none of these options are available to you, or if you need assistance with public comment, please contact Planning Manager David Hanham at 510-724-8912 or dhanham@pinole.gov. Americans with Disabilities Act. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, if you need special assistance to participate in a city meeting, or you need a copy of the agenda or the agenda packet in an appropriate alternative format, please contact the city clerk's office at 510-724-8928. Notification of at least 48 hours prior to the meeting or time when services are needed will assist city staff in ensuring that reasonable arrangements can be made to provide accessibility to the meeting. Note, staff reports are available for inspection at the city's website, and you may also contact the city clerk via email at hbell@pinole.gov. Persons wishing to speak on an item listed on the agenda may do so when the chair asks for comments in favor or in opposition to the item under consideration. All of those persons wishing to speak have done so. The hearing will be closed and the matter will be discussed amongst the commission prior to rendering a decision. Any person may appeal the action to the Planning Commission or of the Planning Manager by filing an appeal with the City Clerk in writing within 10 days of such action. Following a public hearing, the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 and a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Please note, if you challenge the decision of the Commission regarding a project in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in writing delivered to the city at Pinole at or prior to the public hearing. The Ralph M. Brown Act, Government Code subsection 54950. In enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that the public commissions, boards, and councils, and the other public agencies in this state exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of the state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people, in the delegating authority, do not give the public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so they may retain control over the instruments they have created. And with that, we will be calling this meeting to order. Now we will begin with the pledge. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respect to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. And with that, Planning Manager Hinnom, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Uch.
Here.
Commissioner Huey.
Present.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Present.
Commissioner Bender.
Present.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Vice Chair Manis.
Here.
Chair Sandoval.
Present.
All the commissioners are present, so we can take action on items for tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Planning Manager Hinnom. And with that, we will go to citizens to be heard. The public may address the Planning Commission on items that are within its jurisdiction and not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning commissioners may discuss the matter brought to their attention, but by state law, the Brown Act, action must be deferred to a future meeting. Time allowed is 5 minutes, and we do have one comment in person. If you can please come to the podium, please. Do we have the timer ready? Okay, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, commission, staff, and peoples. I'd like to speak a second on the safety element update, environmental justice element. At the last planning commission meeting, I found this out that it was going to be at the library on the August 27th. So I went. And it was not very well attended by citizens. There was 2. There was a lot of staff there. The speaker about the PowerPoint presentation, which is 33 pages long, went through it very quickly, and she was on Zoom. And this went by so fast, there was really no way to make notes and comments on it because the citizens didn't have a copy of this at the meeting at the library. So there was no clue on what the meeting was actually pertaining to. And I want to thank David Hanman for posting these in the library. There was how many pages? 13? 10?
10, yes.
10, okay. These were very informative pages. Sorry, they were. But it would have been nice if we could have had those as a flyer also at the meeting, and to be able to get these documents way beforehand, because this pertains to the whole city within our boundaries and probably right outside of our boundaries. There's a lot of information here. In my opinion, this is just me, there should be another workshop on this and posted on like those little lawn signs you have out there for the Pinole, what is it, the September coastal cleanup. And there's a billboard at the Y at Pinole Valley Road in Tennant over by Collins School. And that could be a good spot to put a banner or something when we have these really important meetings pertaining to the citizens and the whole city, to publicize it better. And it was mentioned also that it should have been done at the senior center, where there was more prep time to set up. So please, have another workshop on this, please. I would really appreciate it, and have more of a notice to the citizens. And let's see. sorry. And at the end of the presentation on PowerPoint, there was a adoption strategies planning commission hearing on the 22nd. And I guess that's the next meeting. Have you guys ever seen this? I don't know. And the next city council hearing is October 21st. I'm just wondering how fast you guys are pushing this through. Please, 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 have another hearing on this, have another public hearing, public workshop, anything, so you could actually have people there asking questions and giving good answers. This came in the mail this week. This is from the city of Pinole. It looks nice and pretty and shiny, but it just has a lot of fluff on it. There's nothing about this important element, this justice element, nothing. So I'd appreciate it if you think about adding things like this to the flyers. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Do we have any additional public comments?
No additional comments online right now.
Thank you. Planning Manager Hannum, was there anything that we could respond to here?
No, I mean, I was going to comment on the workshop at the planning director's report. So when we get down to there, I'll make all my comments on that.
Sounds good. Thank you for providing the feedback.
Before we move on from this item, Chair, one brief comment.
Sure, go ahead.
So if the timeline is, as the speaker stated, you know, that it's going to be coming before the commission on the 22nd of September and before the council on the 21st of October, is there enough time for another workshop between now and the 22nd?
There's not time for another workshop. However, if the item comes to the commission and the commission feels they need additional time, they can always schedule for another meeting. So,
Okay, just wanted to clarify that point.
Any other comments from the commission or any other public comments at this time?
I guess no other public comments.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. Mr. Hanham, is it also possible, given that we're learning that maybe there could have been another way that we could have communicated better with the community to ensure that we're sending out this information via social media, our social media platforms?
they were all on the social media platform. We had all the times and all the places and everything on all of our social media platforms. We sent out stuff on all that. It's very hard to send a 33-page on a flyer. You're not going to send a 33-page PowerPoint out, and that's what I want to talk. I'll talk more about it at the. This is just item from the public. When we get down to the Planning Commissioner report, because that's one of my items that I need to talk about, we'll go into that directly.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
With that, it looks like we have no other public comment or questions from the commission, so we will move on to our next item, and that will be our meeting minutes from the Planning Commission meeting on August 25th, 2025. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments or concerns on the meeting minutes? Nope. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes of the regular Pinole Planning Commission meeting of August 25th, 2025.
I'll second that. Planning Manager Hannum, can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Uch,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Abstain?
Vice Chair Martinez, or Manus, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Manus,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-1.
With that, the next item is public hearings. We do not have any public hearings scheduled for tonight. And our next item is our old business, discussion of the redevelopment of the Appian 80 Shopping Center with compiled ideas resolution as revised. Do we have a staff presentation, or sorry, not a presentation, any introduction from staff on this item? Or should we just go straight into it?
Okay, yeah, we'll go straight into that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, tonight is a follow-up from the item from the last meeting. The commission wanted to, kind of just some background, the commission wanted to provide some feedback to the council regarding the AP and 80 Shopping Center and potential future development at that location. Staff put together a resolution and with items of interest that were put together by the Planning Commission. That was reviewed by the Planning Commission at the last regular meeting. Staff has come back. We took what you said. We put it back into the resolution for your review tonight to be moved on to the City Council. We also included the red line copy, so it shows what was amended or what was presented as part of the last meeting, as well as what was amended. And so with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission take action of the draft resolution with and recommend to the City Council.
Thank you. Thank you for staff for putting all this together. I think it's quite an. I think it actually looks pretty good compared to, and it's a pretty good way of kind of like how the information was compiled. And with that, I'll go to questions for staff from the commission. Let's start with Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. In review of the documents, it looks excellent, and thank you for the hard work, team, for putting that together for us. This looks much cleaner, and I appreciate it. I guess where I'd like to start is on page 18 of 27, the document titled Exhibit 8. Under Mixed-Use Development, line 2, what I was trying to accomplish in this one is maybe add a couple of additional words, and I'd like you to read, if possible, if we can just amend it slightly. Development should consider the community's needs and well-being. Project design may consider potential for adding market rate and affordable housing, businesses and offices, and further needs of the community. Then moving along, what I was trying to accomplish, if we look to page 19 of 27, and go down to line item number 26. It's on the third line, starting with ground. So ground or top floor restaurant, not residential space. So if we could just update that, remove residential and add restaurant. And with those two changes, those were the only items that I reviewed that I felt might be a little more clear on what I was trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Huey.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff, for your work on this. I apologize, I did neglect to add an additional note last time we reviewed this. This is going to be page 19 of 27. We're looking at the second half of item number 12. We addressed to reduce potential noise pollution, and I'm wondering if my fellow commissioners would behoove me to also include reduce potential light pollution, as light pollution has effects on the circadian rhythm and sleep, which ultimately affects our residents' health. That includes sleep disorders, mental health, obesity, and cardiovascular health. Any way that we can mitigate this, I would very much appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Huey. Vice Chair Menace.
Just sort of a follow-up question to Commissioner Huey's comment. Wouldn't we consider light pollution as part of the whole CEQA process, basically checking like we did for the marathon thing and things like that? I guess I'm not sure what we're asking for when we're explicitly calling out light pollution as something to be mitigated here above and beyond the standard processes.
Yeah, thank you. I think if we're going to call out noise pollution due to its adverse effects on health, we should highlight light pollution as well. And when I think about light pollution, talk about artificial lights that emit a certain level that is unhealthy, if you will, or that affects the health of our residents. I'm thinking more along the lines when I think about large incorporated cities. Pinole is obviously of a smaller scale. I'm thinking more of like billboard signs, high intensity neon signs that could potentially be included in buildings with taller infrastructure. And so that is the reason that we are calling out light pollution.
So maybe that could be, I don't know, maybe this is going into too granular a level of detail at this point, but maybe that could be a factor in consideration of the design of signage for whatever a new entity is, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the more brightly illuminated stuff. I mean, there's outright billboards and next to the freeway at some point, so I can definitely see your concern there.
Yeah, I definitely see the point brought up by Commissioner Huey. I definitely would be amicable to adding that. I know that it isn't necessarily always billboards or signs. Sometimes it could be parking lights in parking lots. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you. Vice Chair Menace, did you have any other questions for staff?
Right, so I guess sometimes we have some bullet points that are a bit in conflict with each other. Like we're saying there should be ground floor retail space of sufficient size to attract a well-known and respected retail grocery such as a Whole Foods, which is known to be on the higher end of costs as far as grocery stores go. And then a bit farther down on that page, development should consider a need for an affordable grocery option. It should consider the price point needs of community in the area. It should consider adding a unique or ethnic grocery store option that could be well positioned in the Pinole market. So if those goals come into conflict, how is that balanced? Is it balanced, or is that just council's decision? They get to deal with it.
Since this is the planning commission's, ideas for the council and for the developer whenever they come, it could be up to planning commission's choice, whether they want to weigh one as being more important than the other, or put both of those options out to see which one the developer might find suitable in terms of attracting a tenant to the site. So it's kind of up to planning commission's decision whether you want to emphasize one or the other, or just kind of put both of them out there. These are general ideas for the developer to receive, to understand kind of what planning commission is seeing as a good development idea for the site.
Let's see. And I guess going back to page number 18, do you think it might be possible for us to condense this slightly more? Because we've got stuff like 1 saying the site provides opportunities for mixed-use development opportunities, and then 5 says the site provides opportunities for mixed-use development. And that seems a bit repetitive. I think you could maybe strike the first sentence at least of 5, maybe even the first 2 sentences, and just have the last sentence be the key point: vision for mixed-use development that offers opportunities to create a more walkable environment.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I guess what I recall after listening to this was Commissioner Lamb-Julian's, some of her comments and statements where, if I remember right, Commissioner Lamb-Julian, this is where you said you wanted it more of a congregational place where we include, this is where it was key because you wanted a variety of activities for families as opposed to just mixed use. And so I want to make sure that we grab the essence of what you were looking for in that. So if you, in an effort to ensure that we really capture that, are there any additional comments that we really should be considering when this wording is developed to ensure that we make sure that those mixed-use activities, whatever that design includes, isn't just commercial and residential, but that that combination of the two together with play spaces, or I can't remember your exact wording, but it was along those lines. So if you could maybe just walk us through your mindset so that we can correctly word this, if that would be appropriate.
Yeah, we can get some clarity on the wording.
So I think what I was speaking to in this mixed-use development was more of an example would be Cocoa, like Rich Biz, to where it is a mixed-use space to where you can have meeting spaces, you can have an event space as well, and it's also similar to a WeWork space where if you were working from home and you needed to have a meeting, that you would be able to have that, which is something Pinole does not have right now. And understanding the demographic of Pinole, how more folks are shifting to Pinole. They're working from home, and not necessarily families, but just people with pets, but just open green spaces that they can go ahead and have entertainment. Mental health is balanced with open green spaces and being able to just be outside, enjoy the activities without having to go pay for an experience is what I was trying to capture. I do know over on 19, an example would have been the Hilltop Mall redesign of just we're seeing how the developers had promised the community a community space to where it wasn't just going to be a meeting space or just a restaurant space, but just something that Pinole is lacking is a space to congregate and build community. Is really what I was trying to capture. Right now, if you walk downtown, there's not very many places for you to sit. You can support the businesses, but then to be able to dine maybe outside. I know that we were talking about parklets, but just in this space in particular on this part of town, understanding the population there, they are older and they will be walking to the grocery store, and it would be nice for the older population to be able to go and then maybe get a snack instant and out and have that outdoor space, so not necessarily with families. But I do believe staff has pretty much condensed it quite a bit from where we were last time. And the example was just having that green open space, so not necessarily designated for families, but we're looking for the full population from seniors to birth and anywhere in between. Is that something we are missing? I know that we're fixing the one soccer park, and then you have Fernandez Park, but just one that's closer on this side of town for the population that we know is increasing with families and seniors as well. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
So maybe what we could propose is to Commissioner or Vice Chair Commissioner's comment about the redundancy in the line, number 5, removing the first sentence, and then stating it can become a key destination where people want to be and where a variety of activities are involved, including green space, period. Then development should consider a vision for mixed-use development that offers opportunities to create a more walkable, shared community would be inserted, environment. Would everybody be acceptable to those, amenable to those changes? If staff, could we
Yes.
insert something like that into there?
With the agreement to as the commission agrees to it, yes.
Okay.
I think just as a point of order, we can note it down now, but we should hear from members of the public before we actually make any changes to the document, because technically we're still in the questions phase.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And Vice Chair Menace, did you have any other questions for staff?
No further comments, but no questions at this time.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And Commissioner Bender.
Yes, I'll start with item 11 on page 18 under the design and development. I would like to suggest that it be changed to any housing on site would need to be designed with mitigations to address the noise, vehicle exhaust pollution and perhaps the light pollution from the I-80 corridor and roadways, such as landscape buffers. And related to that, it goes on, then it goes back to the item 12. At the very end, it says, and that item 12 specifically is talking about taller developments should consider mitigation of potential views overlooking other property, in particular overlooking residential properties to the west of the site. And then it says consideration may include heavy landscaping and trees, and then it says projects should include features that reduce potential noise pollution. I suggest that that portion of that line actually be struck, because it's actually would be handled under item 11. And I do think we need to make a distinction between like pollution in terms of vehicle noise and just, of course, the exhaust. And there is a point about light pollution creeping in. I will say this, I believe neon is actually not allowed in Pinole. Staff could clarify that one.
It's my recollection that neon is not allowed. I think it's not allowed in that zone area, is it, Justin? I don't think it is.
I will double check. I do know we have prohibitions somewhere. In this.
Yeah, I think it's everywhere.
Yeah, it could be everywhere.
I could be wrong on that.
I will look.
I'd then like to go to item 16 on page 19. It says, it's consideration to be given to preserving or repurposing buildings where possible. And there's a footnote to that, number 4. But in some ways, that's kind of a contradiction with item number 6 under design and development, where the site, it says on number 6, the site does not need to remain a strip mall. I'll just offer that, preserving those buildings to me means it just kind of potentially stays as more or less a strip mall. The worst case scenario is it ends up being a paint job. I'd be interested to see what other commissioners, their thoughts on that. I was the one who kind of brought that up, and in the footnote it talks, I was referencing there's a current movement in England where when they're assessing projects where the existing structure is demolished, they're looking at the carbon component of it when they demolish, let's say, a concrete structure, and how that adds to the carbon footprint of the project. But I had made the comment at the time, I didn't think that these buildings really would qualify as being something worth preserving. They are a strip mall. They're typical of something built in the 50s and 60s. There's no public or amenity space whatsoever. It's just you drive in there and go into the store and get in and blow out. So I personally am tipping my hat. I'd prefer the existing site not being preserved, but who knows what'll happen. Item number 17 to me says consideration should be given to providing community space, green space, open space, brick and mortar stores, outdoor dining spaces. That's kind of actually already talked about in number 6 on the page 18. It's kind of a restating of those things. So I would, again, offer that maybe that one should be stricken in its entirety. I will say, going back, though, to another point that was made about was what's labeled as number 3 on page 19 about development should consider the need for affordable grocery option vacated by Safeway. I will say this, preserving the existing buildings actually would fit that goal, because if you look at stores that are catering to try and provide lower price points, they tend, if you look around here, even in Pinole or even in Rodeo, there's now a new one that has shown up. Those operators tend to look for existing locations, so they don't have to deal with current expensive construction costs that they would have to pay for moving into new construction. So I just want to mention that is something to consider about the preserving of those buildings. And then my final comment relates to item 27 on page 19. And it really goes down to the last sentence about parking garages may be a way to accommodate more vehicles. But any garage should be designed to enhance aesthetic appeal, reduce minimalist concrete look, and include possible community benefits. I agree with that in principle, but one of the things to me about if a developer looking at the site would entertain providing a parking structures, i.e. think about, let's say, ground floor parking for a residential building with multi-floors of residential for multifamily, whether it's ground floor or they do it subterranean. One of the benefits of that approach is by having that housing on top of a parking facility, you are going to reduce the surface parking. And that strategy is going to allow potentially for more of the housing development, but I think key, it will allow for more of the public-private amenity spaces I think we're talking about that we would like to see. I mean, think of it as you're layering things on top, as opposed to doing the strip mall, which is you have the store here and then the parking here. You're kind of doing this. And I think, I can't speak for all of my fellow commissioner members, but I think that's kind of what we're ideally looking to see. And that could even include some of the retail component. But then again, in all of this, who knows where retail is nowadays? But we know whether we like it, whether some people like it or not, housing is a crunch. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Commissioner Utsch.
I just have 2 comments to add. To clarify, on page 19, on note number 26, specifically when it talks about how we're designing a space where it would, quote, potentially draw corporate-related events, I think we should also add public as well, because I think we should be catering to not only essentially the private sector, but also, you know, public events as well. Say if the city wants to do a workshop, you know, I think that should be also encouraged there in this new space, or a nonprofit. I think that's just important to have diversity of kinds of events, of both public and private events as well. If we're talking about this space being very inclusive to, you know, for everyone to be here, to be at this place. So that's one change I would like to see. Another is just clarification on the same page 19 on the footnote number 3, where specifically I remember specifically stating just like the example of like downtown Berkeley's parking. I want to specify specifically, just so if people see that, because there's multiple parking garages in downtown Berkeley, I'm referring to Center Street, just specifically as a point of reference. Like, oh, here, this is what this specific footnote's talking about, just as an example, a visual example that people could look to see the idea of like what kind of, you know, ideally, you know, an interesting parking structure is like. And those are all my comments at the moment. And thank you, staff, for all your hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner Utsch. Now for comments for myself. Yes, thank you, staff, for putting this together. I think I know it took a lot of work of compiling everything and putting it into all the numbers and everything. One question I just wanted, just generally for clarification, when this would go to council, it would be presented as bullet points and the numbers would disappear, correct?
We could present them as numbers, but we'll renumber them so they're in sequence. This was mostly for tracking purposes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Another thing that I kind of wanted to, more of kind of like a policy type recommendation that could be to council. I hope that the commission can hear me out on this one, but thinking something more of a vacancy fee. I don't think that we have previously discussed that, but a vacancy fee specific to not residential, but specific to commercial properties. So that would kind of be in some sort of incentive to try to get some sort of development on there, on that specific site. And it could be structured in a way that once a application or some sort of pre-application process has been started, then that fee would not be accumulated yes, the fee would not be accumulated. It would only be after a specific amount of time that the property has gone completely vacant. I was wondering if the commission would be open to adding something like that. Vice Chair Menace.
I think I maybe raised thoughts along those lines at the previous meeting. It may have been after the meeting. I'm not entirely sure. But one suggestion I'd make there is that if the city's going to be creating a commercial vacancy fee, that it be general rather than just targeted to this one site in particular, even if this is the site that's most likely to be affected, just to avoid particularity. And I also had a brief follow-up question with regard to one of Commissioner Bender's comments about preserving the existing space being a factor. I know that one of the things that Safeway was considering doing was renovating that space, and they ultimately decided that the cost of renovating the space would be excessive relative to their potential profit. Is the space actually usable as a grocery space for a new tenant?
Well, I mean, it is a former grocery store, so it has the 65,000 square feet of what Safeway was, as well as the CVS portion that was about 35,000 square feet or 30,000 square feet. So depending on what they come up with in terms of an internal plan of the building, yeah, it could be reused as a grocery store or as any type of retail establishment. They would just have to go through and update what they need to update in terms of codes and as part, and then depending on how they do their packaging of, meaning like their back stocks and their individual internal walls and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, I mean that's something that would have to come to the city for review, at least from a building permit standpoint, if they weren't going to change any of the outside of the building.
I was more wondering about the potential for, major flaws like we saw with the Kmart side that ultimately made it infeasible for commercial redevelopment.
Yeah, I mean, the Safeway buildings are in a little better shape. They were a little bit better maintained, but they would have to be reviewed. I mean, if depending on who and what would go in there, that building would be reviewed as well, just to make sure that it can hold whoever comes in. So it would have to go through another inspection process.
All right, that's my follow-up question. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Thank you, staff, for rearranging our thoughts and getting them down into cohesive sentences. I'd like to recommend if we consolidate 17, 5, and 6, since generally it is the same, just to kind of streamline those points together since they do kind of run that same comment. Yeah.
Which ones?
5, 6, and 17.
Thank you. And then any other questions for staff from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
And this is just a follow on to Vice Chair Menace and Commissioner Bender's comments. Going back up to on page 19 of Exhibit A, number 16. And I think we're really capturing a lot right now. And thank you, Mr. Hannum, Planning Manager Hannum, regarding the property and the state or condition of this particular property. We also need to just be cognizant of the fact that when, especially under the conditions that we are right now with development being what it is, and when I say what it is we've got a lot of, and this is why a lot of projects are struggling right now, not just regionally here on the West Coast, but all throughout the nation. We've got rising costs in terms of building materials. There's so many things. We've got the interest rates that are pretty high also. So when you're a developer, you're trying to crunch these numbers to say, okay, at the end of the day, if I can get said vendor in this property or said company, whether, insert whether it's Safeway, whether it's whoever it is, right? They've got to run those numbers, and it's a business, right? And then they got to run, okay, well, Safeway's going to be here, or Whole Foods, or one of the other ones that we listed, the H Mart or Las Montanas. They've got to run those numbers and say, does this make sense, right? And they may come back to us at the end of the day and say, the repairs that it's going to need don't warrant us keeping this property up. We're going to need to look at this holistically and maybe redo this entire thing and add housing so that we can make the business case work, so that we can get a new vendor or a new provider in here. And by adding housing to it, and their condos for sale, we can now offset some of these costs and give them the flexibility as a business owner. And so I just ask all of us to be conscious of the fact that when they're running these numbers, if I can reassure you that in contracting, if it makes sense to keep a business and the four walls up, that's less expensive, because then it's a lot of just cosmetic work. I mean, you'll have the infrastructure like the HVAC systems, the electrical upgrades, those sort of things to bring them all up to code. But more importantly, if said developer is looking at this saying, geez, I've got this 50-plus year property and it's reached its end of life. I can't do, it's the retail configuration, I can't do much with it. I'm gonna need to reimagine what I can do with this. And then I've got to run those numbers and find the right partners, whether it's, Safeway, Las Montanas, whoever it is, that can pay enough rent to fund the business case so that I can get the financing from the bank. Because ultimately, that's what happens. The bank's got to come in and say, yeah, that project's going to work, or no, it's not. So I just ask us to be conscious of the fact that in this instance, to your point, Commissioner Bander, it may make sense where if this particular property is at end of life, that we give them the flexibility to say, if it is kind of end of life, then we might want to consider just giving them the flexibility to reimagine it and bring us something completely new that would be in line with what their return on investment would need to be. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff or anything anyone would like to add before we go to public comment?
I would just like to respond to Commissioner Martinez, because I agree with what you've said. Experiencing those discussions in my former professional life, absolutely. And the lenders play a major role. I think there was an anecdote I told you that I saw on SFUMB where it was in the South Bay, a development of multifamily residential with the ground floor being occupied by a Whole Foods. And that's what they wanted to do. They paid the architects and engineers fees, et cetera, was going towards planning commission, staff and planning commission review, and the lender said, wait a minute. The Whole Foods needs to be a standalone store. Otherwise, we're not going to fund the project. It became then a conventional project. Residential, a separate store. Case closed. So that does impact it. Obviously, if it's a paint job, they could rent the space out and move in. Other than they may face issues related to lack of restrooms and or handicapped accessibility, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, and I've kind of forgotten this, thankfully, since I'm retired, but in some jurisdictions, if you do a certain amount of work in an existing building, you're faced then with structural upgrades. I don't know if that was in the building code or was just from my overexposure to working in San Francisco. But that is an issue that could come up, and that's actually a very expensive upgrade. There's been a lot of earthquakes since that center was built, and every time there's a major earthquake, I'm talking about the 2 or 3 that we've witnessed in our lifetimes, the building codes get revised. I mean, personally, I'd rather see tabula rasa and start over and get rid of the acres of surface parking that has bare minimum landscape. I mean, even today, if they were proposing that project, the standards for dealing with tree coverage in parking lots is greatly enhanced from when that was done. The bad news about that is it takes 20 years for the trees to grow up and to be really effective, but still, when you go up there, that parking lot is just amazing how big it is. So that's why I'm kind of bothered by number 16, being even on this list.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Any other questions before we go to public comment? Nope. And with that, we will move to public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No commenters with hands raised online.
Let's give it a few seconds in case anyone online wants to comment.
Okay, yeah.
Sure, yes. Can you? Yeah, yes, of course. You can comment.
As long as they're different items.
Hello again. I don't know if you have anything, any company or grocery store coming forward to the city to thinking about moving in or redeveloping, tearing it down, redoing the whole thing, or just are you reaching out to like putting a available property? Anyone that anyone that has the cash, come on in. I don't know how far you are in the process, but if you want to know anything about the property, I've lived in this area for almost 66 years, and I could tell you a lot of stories about that property. Safeway was there since I could remember. Long's used to be there. I remember when they expanded the property in the front of the store for more capacity. I think they did it to Long's too, but Safeway, they had to add about 10 or 20 feet to the front of the store. And they used to have carnivals up there where the car wash used to be. Now the car wash is gone. But yeah, every summer that they would have this Ferris wheels and the double Ferris wheel, and you could see over the freeway. It was really, really neat. Anyway, if you want to know anything about the property that I remember, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any online?
Yeah, no comments online.
And with that, we will bring it back to the commission for discussion and final comments. This time we'll go in the opposite direction. Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments or anything else that you'd like to discuss on this item?
No, I think I've said my piece.
Sounds good. Commissioner Utch.
No further comment.
Commissioner Martinez.
No comment, thank you.
Commissioner Lam-Julian.
No further comment, thank you.
Commissioner Huey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm back on page 19, item 3 again, talking about the grocery options, and the nomenclature that we decided to use here was affordable. We also name 3 examples of the types of grocery stores that we'd like to see here in Pinole, those being Whole Foods, H Mart, and Las Montañas. There are some common denominators between these 3 stores, and I'm wondering if the commission wanted to expand on that and call it out, not to say that the upcoming developer has to hit all these marks, but to give a sample of the types of groups that we're looking for. The items that I pulled out here, in addition to affordable, is affordable, healthy, and culturally relevant. And I would welcome my fellow commissioners to comment as to whether or not you think it's necessary to call these items out. I'm just saying that we called out these 3 specific grocery stores in the footnotes, and I'm wondering if we wanted to expand on that in the text. Thank you.
Yes, I would actually be open to that. And anyone else also open to that as well?
So, question, would that be amending the current bullet point number 28, or would it be adding a new one?
I would propose to add it to the third bullet point, but we can combine. I'd be open to that as well, or just amending 28.
Okay, just wanted to clarify where the adjustment would be going.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
I guess where my thought process in proposing as an example Whole Foods and why that would be important. Whole Foods as a grocery chain, when I run things in my mind, I always try and look at them and understand the economics of a business, right? And so when we look at a traditional retail chain, they do a certain number of dollars in revenue, and then the taxes, right, that are added on top. One of the things that makes, in my humble opinion, and I just, I'll use Whole Foods as the example, they do a lot of prepared, better quality, healthier foods, as an example. And because of that, they're not just selling items that are not taxed, for example, like napkins bananas and oranges and things of that nature. They're prepared foods. And when they're prepared foods like that, what that's also doing is it's driving up the sales tax revenue, because that food, when it's prepared, is in fact taxed. And so when I proposed Whole Foods as an example, just calling them out, the goal being is that we find somebody like that puts a lot more of those prepared foods out in the community, because those prepared foods are going to in fact drive higher taxes than just selling bananas that are not taxed or oranges that are not taxed. And that was the reason that when I called out Whole Foods as an example of maybe a good partner for us, it was because they do so much revenue on prepared foods. And that revenue, which is taxed, is going to help us cover the gap that we have in our budget. And we're going to continue to see and have that in our budget. So I love the other examples of ethnic chain stores in there as well. If we could do that, that would be great, because it would be more of a mixture of what the community is. And I think I like the language, and I'd like to see if we can still continue to keep the other vendors, and then let the developer decide which of this combination of companies that were, whether it's from a tax perspective, Whole Foods, or from the ethnic perspective, that we can get the right mix of companies that would be representative of the community that we have. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
I think I'd also note in response to Commissioner Martinez's comment that you can have both ethnic markets and prepared food. I think Vic's Market, for example, in Berkeley is an excellent example of that. So I don't think those two things necessarily need to be in conflict. But I do appreciate his highlighting the goal of that segment, not just about being Whole Foods, but about the desirability of having prepared foods in order to increase the city's sales tax base. I think that is worth considering.
Sounds good. Any other additional comments? Okay. Sounds good. And with that, I've kind of marked down some of the things that we as a commission have discussed, and I think at this point it might be we could start to kind of go through them and flesh them out. Going in no particular order, just kind of like as I was kind of hearing stuff. Changing I believe this was on point 2. Is the commission open to changing that to also adding market rate to under affordable housing, or is there opposition to this one as well? Vice Chair Menace.
Yeah, just a minor point there. do we think it would be likely that a developer would not want to put market rate housing there? Because it's pretty rare that any developer offers 100% affordable housing.
Yes, Vice
If
Chair
I could
Martinez, yes.
chime in, I just want to call it out so that we're giving the developer and their lenders the option to run that business case and choose whether it's a mixed or it's market rate. I think we can all agree, we know we need affordable, and I think we can negotiate that, but I want to make sure that we're giving, by including the terminology market rate, it's saying to the developer, we understand that your financing options may dictate that you have 80% of it. I'm just throwing this number out there. I'm not looking at the business case by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is there may be analytics that their lender says you can do 80% market rate and 20% affordable, or the bank may say we can do 90% market rate and 10% affordable. But I just want to call out, by adding market rate, we give them the ability to work those numbers and find out what's going to work on this property for development.
Well, and remember, we do have a 15% inclusionary zoning. So any market rate project that comes will have to provide at least 15% affordable housing. That's just part of our code.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you. Okay.
With that, did you still want to see market rate in the language?
I'd still like to just keep market rate in there.
Okay. Commissioner Bender?
I would agree with that. It should say market rate and affordable housing, or market rate / affordable housing.
I would agree with that. Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, I won't object to it if, folks think that will be a worthwhile signal.
Yes, I think that would be worthwhile adding. Obviously, it depends on the kind of developer and their lending options, but I think having that flexibility might be a plus, just to kind of, that way we have that flexibility could potentially allow like more types of development, because if it's 100%, although me personally, I would love to see 100% affordable. It's usually mainly done by at least to my knowledge, it's mainly done by like nonprofits. So in this case, whoever comes in here would want to make money off of it, and maybe the retail might not be enough. So I would definitely be open. I'm okay with adding that to the language. Any other comments on this particular point? Sounds good. And then the next one we have is removing point number 16. I believe that multiple members of the commission had pointed some concerns to this one. Let's see. I'm thinking that giving this type of space and what kind of development Pinole kind of deserves, I'm kind of thinking that I would definitely be open to just removing this and having something where we can start with a blank slate. Given the buildings are probably not in the best condition, it would probably also be expensive to bring them back up to a good usable condition. I don't think that there's a particular attachment to these buildings besides, our want for something affordable. But I think something new and having the opportunity to completely redo the space, I think just supersedes just any attachment to the old building. Just wondering if anyone else had any other thoughts on this. No objection. Yes, Commissioner Roach.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to say, so thinking about number 16, yeah, I think we should, I'm in agreement that we should just scrap it, because while the buildings are really old, I feel like they're pretty much older than me, in terrible condition. It's going to be, as noted, more expensive to just completely renovate it to the space that we want it to be, not only just, in terms of economic costs, but aesthetically, it's just not going to be to the standard that we would like it to be. So I'm in full support of just scrapping number 16. That's all I have.
Sounds good. A next point is the options that we have on our so-called wish list regarding grocery and hot food. Do we want to how is the commission feeling on amending the specific language to include an ethnic option that's kind of like diverse and a reflection of the community an ethnic option that is a reflection of the community but also provides a restaurant opportunity within that grocery or within the developments as well? Just kind of want people's thoughts on that. Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
I think, and of course, Commissioner Martinez can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his main point wasn't necessarily about having a restaurant as part of the site. It was more about the ratio of prepared to non-prepared foods. And having a restaurant there could certainly increase that. But even at your Safeways and whatnot, you still have your delis and things like that that have prepared foods. So I think it's more something along the lines of an ethnic grocery store option that also highlights prepared foods from that region, maybe. I don't know. And I think that Commissioner Martinez would be able to word it better since it's his suggestion, but I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, so I guess if what we're talking about would be item number 28, development should consider adding a unique grocery option or ethnic grocery store option that could be well positioned in the public market. I guess another way, because it doesn't have to be either or, it could be both, right? And so what we could say is a unique grocery option that which includes a significant portion of prepared foods and a potential ethnic grocery store option that would be well positioned in Pinole, and just in Pinole period, and just get rid of Mark. And then that highlight number 5 can reference those companies that we thought. Would something like that work?
Yeah. Commissioner Lamb-Julin, you had a comment?
I did. Commissioner Martinez, you had mentioned like a yard house. So I think these are two different. So the footnote was for 2. And then what Commissioner Menace was talking was for, I think, footnote 5 for number 28. So just to clarify, Chair Sandoval, are you suggesting that the grocery store and a restaurant, or a hybrid of the two?
I'm kind of thinking of a hybrid, but just kind of leaving the option open for so that whether it may be a restaurant or whether it may be a grocery store with a kind of like the Whole Foods or like an H Mart with like a restaurant within the grocery store, because I've seen those out there. So just kind of leaving it open so we could potentially have both.
Okay, yeah, no, just from my background, grocery store with a restaurant in it, they're gonna need a lot more foot traffic that's gonna come through there, and understanding the income level of that part of town is significantly less from, I think, the 2020 census, and just looking at those numbers of the residents that live there. Even mentioning Whole Foods, the joke is like Whole Foods whole paycheck, $20 for what's her face's smoothie. Just being cognizant of the residents that live there now, and just wanting to balance that out with what future Pinole deserves and needs, with understanding that we're off of 80, and that is a prime spot for people to come and visit, and then generate extra revenue. I just don't see that really fitting with the neighborhood, with the residents there right now. But just like Commissioner Huey was saying, affordable, healthy, and cultural development would deeply resonate with the residents there. H Mart and Las Manzanas and just any other grocery stores do have that takeaway food, the hot food. Safeway has one-off, they have so many chains underneath their belt right now that would be able to fit, but just understanding an affordable grocery store that folks would be able to walk up to and then spend time at would be, I think, the key thing. And if they want to have an additional restaurant, I think that would be great because we could use more restaurants here in Pinole for sure. That's just my concern of just putting it in there of a grocery store with a restaurant. As a suggestion, yes, but just of what is that really going to fit with that community right there?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the price point. I see your point around the price point. I don't think that Pinole is looking for like an Air One. But just kind of as like a suggestion that, you know, I think that there can be an affordable option that also has potentially a restaurant at, it doesn't necessarily need to be at a high price point, and that wasn't my suggestion either. So just kind of like just something that has grocery and hot food, but also kind of could be more of like a sit down place as well, or a cafe or something. That was kind of where my thought process was. Not necessarily something super expensive.
Okay.
Or even expensive at all.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner Menace. Sorry, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. And this goes back up to line item 26, one of the changes that I asked for earlier. And it was the third line where it's ground or top floor, and it was currently reading residential space, and I was saying restaurant. And that's because of the views up there. If it was a top floor restaurant with outdoor eating area, and again, this goes back to what Commissioner Bender was saying, is if we're stacking things, right? And if we didn't have a grocery chain that was doing a lot of takeaway food, prepared foods, right? If we asked the developer if there's any way in this building process to put a top floor restaurant to take advantage of those beautiful views up there, we would think that's a good thing, right? Because restaurants, as we know, all that money is taxed revenue, and we want to maximize as much as we can out of this revenue, out of this opportunity that we can. So it's just saying to the developer, we understand that you're going to need to build some business case, and we're giving you the flexibility to design this with as much flexibility as possible. And so if it's a top floor restaurant, I would be agreeable to seeing something like that, because that top floor restaurant, and why, to kind of share with everybody a little bit more, to kind of recap this, why I recommended something like a yard house. Yard houses, if for those folks that maybe haven't been there, they traditionally are in very, very large footprints for their restaurants. And where this is important, and it was touched on earlier, how we don't have a WeWork here in Pinole. What happens on this I-80 corridor is we have a lot of large vendors that have no place to go for their Christmas parties, for their corporate events. And something like a yard house with this, just the sheer square footage and the space they need, they would be able to support their Christmas parties for Kaiser, for Biorad, for Chevron, where today that large of a footprint is not on the I-80 corridor from Berkeley up to us. So that's where, if Pinole seized on that opportunity and said, yes, we understand there's some market conditions that allow us, and we're rethinking and reimagining this space. We want the developer to know we understand, and we would be agreeable to seeing something like that. So that way, as we're stacking things up, we're taking advantage of as much of the opportunity to serve the community, the businesses around us, but also provide services that the community would also use. So that was my thought process in adding that change to item number 26.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Is there any questions or comments from the commission on adding restaurants to item number 26?
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Vice Chair Martinez. Sorry, Vice Chair Menace, getting everybody mixed up today.
To be fair, it was Vice Chair Martinez for a pretty long time, so it's not an unreasonable change. But I was understanding that the adjustments were going to be made to item 28, not 26.
That one was earlier, correct? Yes, so Commissioner Lance Julian's concerns was with item 28. Commissioner Martinez brought up the requested change for item 26.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure which item we were discussing because striking the top floor residential space is a different question from adding prepared food to 28, I think.
Yes.
So we're discussing 26 right now?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't have an issue with striking top floor residential space if the commission thinks the highest and best use of that space would be to have a restaurant there.
Yes, Commissioner Lamb Julian.
So just with, I lost the number, but just speaking to Commissioner Martinez of having a restaurant up top, having people mingling up top, to making sure that the residents that live close by, I think the buffer is what Commissioner Bender was saying, some sort of buffer shrubbery, something to just help with privacy. Because if you're going to be up top, then you're looking in someone's backyard, which might be a concern to the residents there.
No, the Commissioner is correct. I mean, historically, people do get upset if their private backyards are suddenly under the view of the public in general, no matter what the source, whether it's you're providing residential that's looking over their backyards or it's commercial. People tend to you'll have a whole string of houses there that will band together to be protesting, as I'm certain staff would very much realize. We had that actually with the CVS project. That overlooks the neighborhood below, and that was one of those rare occasions where people actually showed up to comment on that for a planning commission meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
To your point, Commissioner Lamb Julian, there is wording in here somewhere where it does say, and it calls out heavy use of, it's in here somewhere that where. Can somebody remember where that is? But there it is.
It's item 12 on
Okay.
page 18.
Okay.
Views overlooking other property. Yes, so on page 19, second item down, consideration may include heavy landscaping and trees. So that should hopefully give us the pieces to address your comment. Because if it isn't, then we can go back and say, but we specifically called this out in our request. So
Well,
would that be okay with you, that we've already defined that on the second line of page 19? Would that work for you? Or would you like additional stronger worded language on there?
I think if we're just gonna have stronger language, I mean, if that was me, and I've lived there for, over a decade, and it was nothing but a grocery store, a Chinese restaurant, and a couple other shops for a very, very long time. Now there's going to be heavy construction to have a multi-storied space, and understanding that just trees take time to grow to their big size to be able to cover your backyard, and just to have that privacy. I don't know if staff has a different recommendation of just how we can word it differently, but just this is what I'm seeing. Just it came up again with the Marathon gas station. We don't have neon lights, but their light is not neon. I think it's maybe LED, but it is extremely bright, and it goes into their backyard, which is frustrating. And it's just trying to just see it from both sides. Yes, we do need this. We need this revenue. This would be possible good uses for the space, but just for the people that live there day in, day out, that have been there, of just being just mindful of their concerns.
Vice Chair Menace.
So I know that part of what we were highlighting, even though it's not in 26 itself, was basically I guess that ties back to 12 again, mitigating potential views, but I think also, right, 9, development should consider the views of the water on page 18. So I think maybe there could be a way we could structure or restructure 9 and 12 and potentially part of 26 to say there should be views of the water, but not of people's backyards. Because I'm pretty sure once you're up high enough, you could set up the fencing so that, you can only look in a certain direction and you'll still have the water view. You just can't look straight down and see, into somebody's backyard. I'm not quite sure what the proper wording for that would be. Would staff have an idea of how to phrase that?
I can jump in on this one. I think it might be best to slightly revise item 12 to include privacy for both residents of the proposed development and privacy for the residents that are already existing in the neighborhood.
No, I'm good with that.
I guess I'm not seeing how that differs from, in particular, overlooking residential properties to the west of the site as currently exists. Do you maybe want to explicitly flag privacy concerns there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we would. 12. Yeah, so we can probably rephrase the sentence. Taller development should consider mitigation of potential views overlooking residential properties. Something kind of like along the lines of a future development on this site should be mindful of the privacy of the residents on the proposed site and also the privacy of the existing neighborhood. Does that sound about right, or did you want to tweak it?
Well, just maybe instead of being mindful, asking them to come up with mitigating measures to protect the residents' privacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go with that.
Okay.
Any other comments on this particular one before we move on to the next one? Nope. All right. Commissioner Huey, you had mentioned earlier about adding either adding another point on light pollution, or did you want to edit one of the points on light pollution?
I think Commissioner Bender pointed out that it should probably go under, 12, to say noise, vehicle, light pollution, and then include those landscape buffers and put that under point 12. 11. It's Monday.
And is everyone okay with that? Cool. Vice Chair Menace, you had also mentioned some clarity, that you had wanted some clarity on I believe this would be item number 5, regarding the use of space. Is there anything else that you want to add to that, or any changes in the language you want to see?
I think based on my notes that Commissioner Lamjulia wanted to combine items 5, 6, and 17, and Commissioner Bender saw conflicts between 6 and 16, and sort of 17 as a restatement of 6. So I think it might be worthwhile at this point to consider sort of the broader, do we want to combine those bullet points, or do we just want to make technical edits to 5?
I'm open to removing 17 and then editing 5 and 6, because it's kind of saying the same thing in different places. Did you have any suggestions on for the language, or?
Well, if we're combining 5 and 6, I mean, in any case, I would say that we strike the site provides opportunities for mixed-use development. We've just stated that 2 items prior. It doesn't need to be stated again. I think that key destination where people want to be and where a variety of activities are involved is a good point. And then you can sort of, part of the problem too is that a vision for mixed-use development that offers opportunities to create a more walkable / green environment is different from consideration and design should be given to walkability, public spaces, green spaces for the community, offices, or community spaces, and something new, unique, and vibrant. One of them is more focused on a particular bullet point out of the category. So I think it was Commissioner Uch who highlighted the walkability as a core point. Do you still want that kept out as a separate bullet point, or would you be okay with combining that with 6?
I'd be okay with that.
Okay, so in that case, I would say delete the first and the last sentences in 5, leave the second sentence, and basically push it to after the first sentence of 6. So have it read, the site does not need to remain a strip mall. It can become a key destination where people want to be and where a variety of activities are involved, such as, so we could replace consideration and design with new sentence, such as walkability, public spaces, green spaces for the community, offices or community spaces, and something new, unique, and vibrant. And we should encourage public transit use at the future site. That last sentence there should probably be changed slightly. It doesn't quite feel right the way it's worded right now.
Right, so you're saying taking 5, merging it into 6, and separating the last sentence out?
Just changing the last sentence, like public transit should be an integral part of the site design or something. I don't know. It's just encourage public transit use of the future site feels like not quite the right wording. But the main thing, I think, is just getting rid of most of 5 and shifting the remainder into 6 to have it be more of a flowing paragraph.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. I think we might want to, just my opinion is on this, is we might want to strike that line. And the reason is this commission does not have any control over WestCat, the design, the hours of WestCat services, anything even like that. So that's a little bit out of our jurisdiction, although we appreciate having things like the developer look into things like storage for bikes, for e-bikes, that sort of stuff. But when it comes to public transit at that site, none of us are sitting on a board that's looking into 20 years down the road saying, we're going to do an intermodal community shared resource car or transportation system off of this site. So we've got to be really careful because that's a slippery slope of what the developer nor we have any jurisdiction over. And that's just my opinion. Commissioner Bender, do you have any guidance or any wisdom you can share with us on that? Or city staff, anybody?
No, what you're saying is true, but
I just want to make sure that we're being very conscious of this language
Well, it's just encouraging. It's just encouraging public transit to be used as a future site. So as long as we're encouraging it, we're not saying it has to be there. We're not saying it's that, but we're encouraging the developer or the council to have the West Cat be a part of any new development that occurs. So I think you're okay with that language of encourage, just as long as you're not, saying that you're going to actually provide it. You're not saying you're going to provide it. You're just saying that you want to encourage public transit use of that future site. So I think that's where you want to be with that.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Menace, then Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
I think it's also important to note that several of the items we've discussed in the past with regards to the housing element, with regards to various changes that we made with regards to objective design standards and so on, though some of those may not have come before the commission yet, do highlight directly the intersection with transit timetables and so on and so forth. So I do think as part of the sustainability element of the general plan and the future environmental justice element and the circulation element of that one's not being considered for revision, that considering the availability of public transit at a given site and the use of public transit at a given site would fall within our jurisdiction, in my opinion.
But we don't have any decision points. I mean, in terms of the West WCTAC board or the West Cat board, they determine all of the routes. They determine the headways. They determine all that. The city doesn't from an individual basis. And there's no way we can require a project to be able to say that they're going to have running times of 15-minute headways for their development. So, like I said, I think when you're encouraging public transit use of the future site, I think there was transit at that site early on. It's come and gone with some of the routes that have been in the past. I know in the Pinole Square they were proposing a new bus pullout as part of their project. So, so that's something that. So we're encouraging it. We're encouraging them to, have stops at that location. But we can't demand, and we can't, and anything in the housing element or those are usually referred to distances or within a half mile or not necessarily times. I mean, there are some times. I think there is like 15 or 30-minute headways, but we don't dictate that. That's something that comes from WestCat.
Just to be brief, I wasn't suggesting that we demand or compel anything here. I want to be very clear about that point. I was just saying that, there are other things that we discuss that do involve similar concerns. So I don't think it's outside of our jurisdiction.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian, then Commissioner Bender.
So then if I could just recommend moving that line, encourage public transit use at the future site, move it to rather 0.4 or 5 under access and transportation, because we are asking them to consider multimodality and offering from various forms of transportation rather than monomodality. I think just adjusting that line to go into that section would make a little bit more sense.
Commissioner Bender.
I was just going to say, a housing developer, assuming one shows up to be part of this site, they are going to actually be looking at public transit availability, because they're going to be probably going for a density bonus based on as part of that. So it is a factor, but it is true. You can't tell the transportation agency you must do this. But again, developers are going to be looking at that because they're going to be looking for bonuses, density increases.
So I guess in reply to Commissioner Lamb-Julian's comment, I do think it will be worthwhile to move the final sentence, encourage public transit use of the future site, to basically be at the end of either 4 or 7, depending on which one the commission feels is better. So basically strike 5 except for the second sentence, which is moved to be after the first sentence of 6.
You said take that last sentence, move it into 4, you said 4 or 7?
Either one, whichever one the commission feels would work better. I think it could work on either.
7.
Okay, 7 then.
Yeah. Yeah, I would actually like to keep that language, although we can't require public transit. I think it's still be a good idea to have the language in to encourage it. As well as, while we don't have any jurisdiction over Westcat, the city council does have a seat at WICTAC, so they can consider that, whoever that person may be. So I would open to be moving that into item point number 7. I don't know if there's any other comments on that part.
Since we're striking 16, I think there's no longer a conflict between 6 and 16. And were we also going to be striking 17?
Yes.
Okay, so then strike 17 entirely, strike the first and last sentences of 5, move the middle sentence to be after the first sentence of 6, and then take the last sentence of 6 and move it to the end of 7. Does that make sense, Steph?
We're going to go through this line by line. And in fact, with all these changes, I'm going to recommend right now that, because there have been multiple changes to all of these, at least these major conditions, and we might have all of them, we might have some of them, but basically, I think at this point, I'm going to go down from number to number, and because you guys have really changed a lot of the different numbers of what we're doing, and I'm recommending that we go through this one by one. Number 1, good, move on. Number 2, if that's good, move on. Number 5, and work them straight down the list, because this is something that you're recommending to the city council. It needs to be right. We need to have it right, and I just want to make sure we catch everything, that we catch everything that's going on, because you guys are making changes, and you change it back, then you change it, then there's some more changes. So I want to make sure that we capture all these changes effectively, and that we can get them in the document so that you guys can approve it. Because I'm recommending that we're not approving it tonight, that it's coming back to the council, coming back to the commission, but that when we leave tonight and we come back tomorrow or the next meeting, that this thing is settled, and or at least for the most part, it's pretty much settled in what we have. So we'll need to make sure, and Justin, I think we're going to, based on all this renumber, we're going to renumber them all and on the next one. And so that way there's no, we can start setting it up for the council. So if we could, if there aren't any more changes, what I would like to do is, from staff's perspective, is I would like to just go down each one and make sure we have any changes that we're missing, or any changes that we need to include, so that we have a good record. And I know our note taker is going to have a lot of fun with this as well, as part of taking the minutes.
I apologize.
So no. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's great discussion. It's we're trying to do something for the betterment of our community, and yeah, there's going to be good discussion. So we just got to make sure that we capture it, and make sure that when we come back, we're not going through the same exercise again. Or at least, if we do, we at least have we've got everything under control that we did from tonight's meeting. So if we could do that, I would appreciate it. Or staff would appreciate it.
Sounds good. I think we've gotten to that point where we should probably just go through each single one. Yeah, but it's for the betterment of our city, and we obviously.
Definitely.
The Planning Commission cares a lot about this development, and all of us here care a lot. So
definitely, and like I said,
we want to make sure we get it right.
Exactly. So,
all right. So with that, does the commission just kind of want to go through them each one by one, starting now, or there are more comments that we want to make? All right. In that case, let's go one by one. So I guess I'll go in the order that they're numbered here. Not in the, just for clarity's sake, we're going by the number that they're appearing on Exhibit A.
Yes.
In our agenda packet.
Yes.
All right, under mixed-use development, item 1, any changes? We did not discuss any previous changes to this item.
Number 1 is good.
Under item 2, development should consider the community needs and well-being. Project design may consider potential for adding affordable and including market rate. That is our change. Businesses and offices further needs of the communities. Any further comments on this one? Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
Actually, a minor point on one that I didn't bring up earlier, footnote 1. I think it's supposed to be Santana Row, not Santa Row.
Yes, good catch. We all missed it.
That's a new row.
All right, with item 1, we'll be changing the footnote from Santa to Santana Row. Item number 2, adding market rate. Any other additional comments on this one? And next one is item 5. So we're removing item 5 and merging it into item 6. Vice Chair Menace, did you want to clarify the language that you had requested on this one?
Sure. So basically, strike the number 5, strike the first sentence, take the second sentence and move it down to item 6, and we'll discuss it more when we get to item 6, and strike the third sentence.
Okay, so we are moving, and forgive me, I'm going to interrupt and just to make
Go
sure
for
I
it.
have it all.
Go
Okay, so
for it.
I mean to interrupt, but if I am, just tell me to be quiet until at the end. But so we are keeping. It can become a key destination where people want to be and where a variety of activities are involved.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's
Yes.
moving to number 6.
Yes, so that sentence will be moved into item 6. Any other comments from the commission on item 5? All right, so
And
going in.
so, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. So item 5 after that is now deleted.
Yes.
Okay.
Going into design and development, item 6, we're incorporating it can be a key destination where people want to be and a variety of activities are involved into item 6. Any other changes requested on this item?
So for item 6, I think we should note the site does not need to remain a strip mall. It can't become a key destination where people want to be aware a variety of activities are involved. So basically have that be the second sentence. And then for the third sentence, I think maybe instead of consideration in design, say some key considerations are walkability, public spaces, green spaces for the community, offices or community spaces, and having something new, unique, and vibrant. So just some grammatical changes to that sentence, I think.
Okay, so staff, the way I'm reading it right now would be that item number 6 will now read, the site does not need to remain a strip mall. It can become a key destination where people want to be and where a variety of activities are involved. Consideration and design should be given to walkability, public spaces, green spaces for the community, or scratch that, or offices, or community spaces and something new, unique, and vibrant. Encourage public transit uses at a future site.
So in any case, that last sentence should be moved to the end of item 7.
Okay, so encourage, move to 7.
And if we don't want to change the precise wording of the consideration and design sentence, that's fine. I just had a few suggestions there, but that's not a key point at this hour. And I think that's everything for 6.
Okay, so
Is that clear?
Okay, 7 is
7's all the way over on page 19 under access and transportation.
okay. So number 8. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. number 8.
No worries. Item 8, consideration should be given to design elements that connect different parts of development, particularly for mixed-use development. Any changes requested on this one? No. Item 9, any changes on this one? Nope. Item 10, sorry. Commissioner Lamb and Julian, did you have for a comment or a change?
I had it noted that, did it get added to 11 somehow with the verbiage?
Which one?
9 to number 9 to number 11. Because 9 is talking about the water views, right? And then we kind of merged it with 11 or 12. We merged it with 12 because 12 was talking about the privacy views.
Did we try to merge them, or did we just make them separate?
I think there were some points highlighted that applied to both.
Yes.
I'm not sure that we actually merged the two.
Okay.
Or Commissioner Langell, are you okay with it? How it is?
Yep, thanks.
So 9 is good.
9 is good, and then 10. 10 is good, and then item 11. I believe we did have some changes to this one. On my notes here, I have a landscape buffer for light, noise, and air pollution. Any other changes to? Oh, yes, and the residential privacy. Anything else that we want to add to this one?
Wait, so we're combining 11 and 12?
No, that was for. No, sorry. This was the landscape buffer and the addressing the various types of pollution. That's only for 11.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, we're saying mitigations to address light, noise, air, and privacy pollution. I don't know if privacy pollution is actually a thing, but
Not privacy pollution. That's for 12. Just light, air, and noise pollution to be added to item 11.
okay.
All good? All right, and then item 12, to add a component to add residential privacy. Any commissioner want to take a scratch at the language that they would like to see here?
I think this might be an area where Commissioner Bender's experience in building privacy functions may be helpful to the commission. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, pretending I'm the architect for this development, and I think if I were to just see the statement, my reactions would be, if on the west side, I would be proposing to the developer put up like let's say a 4-story multi-family housing project. If we're at the sort of towards the edge, the western edge, you might actually have to look at like stepping back the building to reduce people from being able to kind of look down to those existing properties that are below the grade. Or you do a landscape, trees, you plant trees. So I'm not sure we need to get too granular on this. I mean, I just think making the statement that taller development should consider mitigation of potential views overlooking other properties, et cetera, that alone is a signal to an architect, you got to deal with this, and to staff, that the architect has to deal with this. And there's probably more other ways to think about it as well. You may not even want to put buildings within, let's say, 20 or 30 feet of the beginning of the slope. I don't know. That's why I said maybe we shouldn't be too granular on this and just leave it sort of open-ended, but it is an issue that has to be dealt with.
So do you think that the existing language that's there right now basically is adequate?
I think it's adequate. It signals that there is a potential problem, depending how you site the buildings, et cetera, and how you deal with the form of the buildings.
Okay, now I know Commissioner Huey mentioned having artificial light mitigation under 11. Would it need to also be included here after noise pollution, or would we be striking the project should include features that reduce potential noise pollution as already having been covered by 11?
Yeah, I would.
Yes,
I would strike that last
Yeah, we
sentence.
could strike that.
Yeah, everybody says that was a suggestion to strike all that language.
And so then we don't want to clarify anything on residential privacy then, just kind of leave it how it is?
Well, just
as a layperson, I just wanted that part about the residential privacy, but as an architect, that is not my lane. If this speaks to that, then I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Tells the architect and the developer you got to deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
And it'll be up to staff to obviously do the first leg of the enforcement.
So basically, if I'm understanding what's going on with 12 right, we're basically just striking the last sentence and leaving the rest the same, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any other comments or concerns with 12? Nope. All right, moving on to 26. For this one, we would remove it, change residential to restaurant. Any other questions or concerns on this one? Nope. All right, going on to 27. We didn't have any concerns on this one.
I had a note, I think, it was Commissioner Ochu said, corporate-related and public events.
For 26?
26.
Story. Did you want to add that as one of the numbers at the end?
I don't think it was the intent to add it as a number. I think it was just say potentially draw corporate-related or public events. You don't.
Do corporate and public-related events, or do we just even just say events?
Well, I think part of the intent of Commissioner Martinez's point was to flag the attraction of the site to potential corporate uses. But I think that, you know,
But if we just make it broad and have it events, it could be public or private. So then they know that they could put it on their radar.
Could also change it to a kind of like a venue space, small venue space. Commissioner Martinez, did you want to add something?
Yes, it's really simple. We can just, where it says the line starts with potentially draw, nonprofit, comma, public, comma, and corporate related events, period,
Nonprofit.
That works for me. Any other concerns?
comma, public, comma, and corporate related events, period. That should work for all of us, if that's agreeable, everybody? Okay.
language looks good to me.
And then, city staff, did you get that one?
Yes, we did.
Perfect. 27, we did not have any concerns with this one. Anything we want to change?
Moving on.
I think there was one change to the footnote on 27, footnote number 3. It was more explicitly referring to the Center Street parking structure in downtown Berkeley.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the footnote for footnote 3 include, yes, parking example. The example itself would be the Center Street parking garage. And then for 16, we're removing this one. 17, I believe we're also removing this one as well.
So you're taking out 16 and 17?
Yes.
Okay.
Under access and transportation, number 4, any concerns with this one? And then number 7, we're adding encouraging the use of public transit for this one to be added as a sentence at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Sound good. Under markets and commercial opportunities, number 3, any concerns? Nope. Number 28. Do we have any concerns with this one?
I think for 28, Commissioner Huey wanted to highlight basically overlapping core points like affordable. I noted down affordable, healthy, and commercially relevant. Were those the 3, Commissioner, or was there another one?
Culturally relevant. Thank
Culturally
you.
relevant, got it.
So we don't want to merge 3 and 28, right?
No.
Okay.
No, they're definitely different. I think this was just a change to 28.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the exact wording.
So that was adding the language to 28, affordable, healthy, and culturally relevant. Perfect. Any other? Commissioner Bender, did you have something to add on this one?
Not on this one, but I just wanted to mention when we're striking 16, that actually probably footnote number 4 would go also. Because that is part of item 16.
So part of the repurposing examples? Okay.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah, I
Commissioner
assumed that would
Belanger.
happen automatically, frankly. So could we go ahead and read out the exact wording of 28 before we move on from it? Because I'm still not clear on it right now.
Yes, let me see if I can figure out the language. Did we want to add that development should consider adding an affordable, healthily, and culturally relevant grocery or store option that could be well positioned in the Pinole market, or did you? That's fine? Okay. Any other changes or concerns with this one? Nope. Sounds good. And then moving on to item number 19. We did not know any changes on this one. Any changes for this one?
I think for 19, just a typographical change. Basically, after restaurants of the city does not have and that would, rather than just being would, I think would be a clearer transition. That would bring patrons to Pinole, would be a good fit for Pinole, would add significant sales tax revenue.
Sounds good. Number 21. Any concerns with this one? Yep. Number 29. Any concerns with this one? All right. Moving on to community enhancements and partnerships. Number 23. Number 24. And finally, number 25. All right. So that's gone through all of them. Any that we want to add now that we're here? Yes. Commissioner Martinez.
Chair, I think, I apologize, it's just getting late. I believe early on we had discussed the potential for citywide for vacancy fee for commercial land like this, a general one throughout the city, especially because this is such a prominent place. And it's, I laugh lovingly, of course, because Doctors Hospital, which was on Appian, sat derelict for as long as I lived here. We finally get that one off the ground and kind of up and running, and now Safeway, this is happening to it. So I'm not sure what our planning manager, Hannah, I'm not sure what our levers are in this area. Can staff give us some guidance on what can we do as Planning Commission to look at some type of a commercial land vacancy fee? Is that something that city staff has the ability to look into for us? Is that something only that city council has? What do we do with this?
Well, the city council is the only one that can enact the fee. So we can recommend that they do a fee. We would have to go find one. I mean, some of the bigger cities have them for like probably like in the early aughts when the Walmarts were going into super Walmarts and then leaving their 132,000 square foot buildings or 160,000 square foot buildings and going to their 250,000 square foot buildings. So cities were writing into conditions of that they had to maintain those buildings and and to keep them up in standards and potentially pay a fee after so many, or pay the city a fee for so many of keeping the records for the building or whatever in terms of that. So, I mean, I'd have to go back and look and see what cities have done to do that regarding a vacancy fee or a fee that's charged to the developer to make sure that the building's being maintained and doing that. So that's something that we'll have to take a look at. But there are cities that do have some type of fee, either it's called a vacancy fee or it's called like an economic development surplus fee or something like that, where they charge, or they don't necessarily charge a fee, but what they do is they require the developer to maintain the site to the same standard that it was while it was open. So kind of something of that nature. So that's something that we can take a look at.
So what, sorry. So similar to with Kmart, I mean, they let that building.
Yeah, I mean,
And
but
then
we
you
don't, we
just
didn't
told
have
them-
anything like that. We didn't have anything like that in place. Now, I mean, if the building deteriorates to a position where it's unhealthy and all that, we can always, the city always has the authority to go slap a red tag on it and say, you know, you got to take care of this building. But it's normally when like big companies, they leave their, you know, they build these developments, then they leave and go to bigger spaces, and they just leave these developments to, you know, because they really don't need them anymore, so to speak. And it's difficult, believe it or not, to rent out these 160,000 square foot facilities nowadays. They're finding that 90 to 125 is kind of like that no man land in terms of square footage for retail development. They either like that 40 to 60, or they like that big, you know, 250 where it's all encompassing and you have everything in the store that you need. The super Targets, the super Walmarts, you know, the Costco's. I mean, they're over 165, 170,000 square feet. So there's just that range of like what we have from that 90 to 130. It's a little tough sometimes to get retail to buy off on that. So, but we do have, with the building code, we do have ways that if buildings start to deteriorate that we can require them to tear them down or restore them to their luster, or else they'll have to tear them down. So, I mean, so we do have that as part of the building code that will allow us to do that. So, that could be something that if you do want to do in terms of in future developments, if the council, that's something that the council wants to do, if we build these bigger buildings for our community, which I think would be anywhere between the, you know, 50 to 100,000 square foot. You know, most of our buildings are that size. I don't even think Target's probably the biggest one, probably. All the other ones are broken up into, you know, that 30 to 60 range. But you can still, you know, from the developer standpoint, you got to maintain that to the ability to, as it was, if it was occupied or, you know, something like that. We could add that on to buildings that, you know, that come forward in the future.
So if I understand, help me understand. So would it be appropriate, Planning Manager Hannum, to put a little note in there asking City Council to consider looking into a citywide fee for this or other commercial properties that would be vacant for extended periods?
Yeah, I think it's something we could take a look at. I mean, I think it's something that, you know, like I said, it might not be a fee. It just might be something of a maintenance thing that they have to maintain, or else we can, you know, we have code enforcement, we've got building inspection, we have tools in our toolbox that we can enforce with fines and penalties and all those associated with it. So it's a matter of which way the council wants to go, or do they willing to charge a fee to these guys so that we've got to, not that we've got to maintain it, but that we charge some type of fee that they've got to, you know, get somebody in there so that the building doesn't deteriorate on a certain part. So that would be a council decision, but we can put something in there if you want. I don't know if you want it citywide. I mean, that might be something that we add as a condition of approval to projects. I mean, in terms of, because that's not really a, you know, unless it's a fee. I mean, if it's a fee, then we've got to go through the rest of the cohorts. We've got to do the study. We've got to, you know, do the nexus study to make sure that we understand what that fee is. But we could add a condition that, you know, you must, if you're leaving a facility, you're going to a facility, that you've got to maintain the older facility at the maintenance that you had when the building was active or something like that. So you can also do that.
I'd be open to both of those, actually.
Okay.
Vice Chair Menace.
Okay.
I think my primary point of concern with having it just be a condition of approval type thing is sometimes in bankruptcy procedures, companies get rid of all their liabilities, including inconvenient things in their terms of use or conditions of approval or so on and so forth. So the very entities that we may most want to impose that condition on may be able to say, well, federal law says we can get out of this, so we're going to get out of it. So I think that we should definitely have something talking specifically about a fee, not just a condition of approval, because that's harder to evade.
Okay. We'll have to do some research on that just to see what cities do charge a fee for vacancies and how that's applied and all that type of stuff. But
Yeah, sorry, Commissioner Bender.
I agree that, because it is an issue with this site, but it also is an issue with other places here in Pinole.
mhm.
I know of a certain restaurant in downtown, Old Town, empty. An office building near the appliance area that I never see cars in the parking lot. There's another place, it's a commercial strip building where, again, I don't see cars there during the days. So it is kind of a citywide problem. I know some jurisdictions have gone for a vacancy tax. Of course, then when you do a tax, I believe under California law, it has to go before the voters, blah, blah, blah.
Up to 18.
But to me, it is an issue, and specifically with the site. And again, none of us know whether there's a project. It's open-ended right now.
Yeah, in terms of a tax, it might be a little bit more feasible to do a fee, just because the tax might be a little bit more. That might be a little bit of a harder sell to voters. But given the circumstances of this project, that could also potentially be a possibility. I kind of do think it could be a very much of kind of like almost like a structured tier system where there's multiple layers to it. It's not just necessarily, oh, this building has been empty for a year, now there's a giant fee. No, it could be, there could be layers to it that can, each layer or tier could kind of get a little bit more stricter as the vacancy continues.
Yeah, and that's something that we could develop over time. I mean, we would definitely need time to develop that fee and develop, like I said, develop the nexus and the tiers and all that kind of stuff that would go into that fee or tax. So that's something but you can always, as a part of this exercise, encourage, to look into something like that, some language of, to look into something of that nature, if you want, so that at least it's on their radar.
Yes, I think that there's good agreement within the commission to add it. We don't have to have the specific details, but just encouraging some sort of vacancy fee. Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
Actually, just to clarify, is our goal tonight to do a final passage of this item, in which case we do want the final details, or is the plan to do a continuance?
I would recommend that you do a vote to table this item to your next regular meeting, and then the next, because you made some pretty wholesale changes, so we want to bring back those changes and then for adoption at the next meeting.
Okay, I'm still a little bit hesitant with leaving vagueness there, but I guess this is ultimately going to be a council policy decision which direction they want to go with any such fee anyway. Some vagueness there is probably fine.
Okay. With that, any other items that the commission would like to add? All right, with that, if that's it, then we would just need a motion to table this item to our next meeting.
Yep, or continue the item. You need a motion to continue the item to the next regular planning commission meeting.
Thank you, Ed.
I will move that we continue this item to our next regular planning commission meeting.
I'll second.
Planning Manager Hannum, could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Uch?
Yes.
Commissioner Huey?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian?
Yes.
Commissioner Bender?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Menace?
Yes.
Chair Sandoval?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Sounds good. And that concludes our old business. And now we will move to our new business, which we have none. And then that moves forward to our city planners report. Planning Manager Hannum, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, I got a couple things, a few things to talk about. First thing is, actually, I want to talk about the workshop that we had at the library for the environmental justice element and the safety element. It was very well attended by city staff, and wish we had more public in the audience. However, we did have it virtually, so I don't know if we had people online that was watching it as well. But yeah, we're finding that speaking about meeting places, that's been that's been one of those things we're trying to keep the community more involved, and making sure we're taping some of these public workshops so people have, some of our buildings are very old, and like the technology that we had to go through at the library was pretty tough. And we try to keep the public workshops out of the chambers. We try to get out into the public. We like to go like senior center or, the library or someplace else to where, people feel more comfortable instead of coming into the chambers the whole time for everything. And so that's why we do public workshops out in the public. And so finding these spaces, I mean, even our spaces, even with the theater or the youth center, or there are issues just because of the age of the buildings. And so we've ran into some of that. And it was a good learning experience, because that's probably the first public workshop we've had, at least in the library, for forever. And for a planning issue, it's been a long time since we've had one. Not since, I think, the Pinole Square Center back in 2017, to be honest. That's probably the last really planning, quote, public workshop. So that's something that we could be looking at, maybe just adding some meetings throughout the year here to have public workshops. You guys will sit out in the dais, sit out in the crowd, or you guys could sit up here. We could do a public workshop, but we try not to do them. We want to try to get as many people involved as we can. We do use all of the social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, all the other Nextdoor, whatever, all of the platforms we have that we use, Instagram, the Pulse, all of our, all of the different types of programming that we use. I mean, there is no perfect animal. The only animal there is perfectly if we mailed a letter to every single Pinole resident, and even then, at least 45% didn't get the mail. So there is really no. We're trying to do as much public outreach as we can for these events. We can't make people, come. It's a volunteer sport in a sense where, they have to come out and want to be involved. And we try to do these, 30 days, 45 days out before a meeting, so that we can, take that input, put it in our staff reports, and bring them to the commission and the council. In this process, we did do, public workshops for the EJ and safety element in the very beginning when we were doing the housing element. We combined a lot of the different workshops, and so there was a lot of preemptive workshops for the documents and stuff. But because of the housing element and the complexity of that, the safety and EJ element kind of fell a little bit behind the housing element. And so now we're looking at those two coming to the commission next month, or actually the end of this month, at which point you have the ability to, you'll probably be, I don't know, they're not on the website. They're on the website now, right, Justin? The EJ and the safety element, the draft copies?
We're waiting for the public review draft.
That's right. So that should be coming up hopefully here in the next couple of days. Hopefully by the end of this week we can get that out for public review. That'd be a part of your package. And so we're working on that. So the timing, and the other thing is we're dealing with the timing of meetings. When are we going to schedule these items? How are we going to schedule these items? It just seems like the clocks are the calendars just keep. Next thing you know, it's October. Oh, well, we can't have a meeting until that. So Justin and I are also looking at maybe doing some special meetings here and there, so that we can get these things scheduled in a timely manner. So they're not taking months and months and months because we can't get to a meeting, or there's no other item available, or such as that. So, but again, we're shooting to get the housing element or the safety and EJ element to you on the 22nd, which is 2 weeks from now. So that's our goal. It might go into October, depending on, what we need. We might need a special meeting early in October, because we only have after September, we only have one scheduled meeting for October, November, for each of the months of October, November, and December. So we might throw in a couple meetings here and there so that we can get some of these stuff done before the end of the year. So just be aware of that. Mostly probably in the latter part, but you'll be notified on that. So working on those items, those will be coming forward. I'm trying to schedule right now. That's another thing. I'm trying to schedule another public workshop for the Parklet program, which I'm still trying to find a date for. It's probably going to be in the first or second week of October, just to kind of get the program out there, and get some public input on that, and then go from there on that item. So, other than that, I mean, in terms of that, working on the objective development design standards, we're getting those wrapped up, and bring those to you guys here, hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days. And then I think that's all we have in terms of long range stuff. In current planning, we're processing ADUs. We are processing SB9 projects. We are processing all sorts of projects coming through, working through the building department. And so, yeah, so that's all we have right now. We've got no intended developments on Safeway, so we don't know what's going on there. We're trying to work with the Pinole Vista Blackstone, which is now the new owner of the Pinole Vista project, to see where they are on that, and so what they're doing with that, with the Kmart building. So it's a lot of pieces are in flux. So other than that, Appian Village is moving forward, as you can see, moving forward pretty quickly. So we're working on their lighting landscaping district, hopefully have that wrapped up here in the next 2 to 3 months, and then move forward with that. So that's all I have. So if there's any other comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer if you have any. So that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Plan Manager Ham. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Hi. Okay, I know it's getting late. So just wanting to get an update on the community engagement subcommittee that we started, that kind of...
The one that fell through the cracks?
Yep. I think that would be, possibly a helper in this situation.
Yeah, that's it's on my calendar. Where and when, I'm not quite sure. I got to meet with the 2 representatives of that committee, the chair and yourself, and if you could send me some dates and times of when you're available, and then over the next couple of weeks, and we can get that scheduled. So if you could.
We did meet, and then we had a list of ideas, and then that got forwarded to people that are no longer here.
Yes, so we're gonna have to go back over that and see what I'm gonna be able to put back together again, and we'll go from there. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Plan Manager Hannum? I did have a question. When did Blackstone buy Pinole Vista?
Who?
When did Blackstone buy Pinole Vista?
About what, 60 days ago? 60, 90 days ago? So it's been fairly recent, within the last 3 or 4 months. So, yeah. ROIC still owns, I think, the rest of the, quote, Pinole Vista, Target, and all that shopping centers. I think they still own all those. But Blackstone owns that particular Pinole Vista shopping center at this point.
Thank you for that info. Any other questions from the commission? Nope. And that will we move to our commissioner's report. Commissioner Bender, do you have anything to report out?
Just a minor item. For those of you who were on the Planning Commission when the Brant Court historic houses to be relocated from Hercules, that house had been wrapped in plastic like a year ago, sitting out in a field in Hercules. I drove by the other day and the house has disappeared. But also the property actually has been for sale for quite some time now. There's a for sale sign up there in Brant Court. So it was just a little information item for those of you who were on the Planning Commission at that time.
Commissioner Utch, anything to report out?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Martinez, anything to report out?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian, anything else?
Nothing further, thank you.
Commissioner Huey?
No, thank you.
Vice Chairman is.
I believe, though I'm not certain on this point, but there's going to be a senior food distribution tomorrow at the senior center The pulse indicates it's the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, though it didn't indicate the exact day this month as it has done sometimes in the past. So I want to double check on that. I'm also unsure whether there was a distribution this Monday because that's not listed in the pulse at all, though it is still on the website.
I have one item, one more item. I apologize, Mr. Chair.
Go for it.
If I could get all your holidays or your meetings, if you're going to be making all of the fall meetings, the October, November, December meetings, so that we can, if we need to call a special meeting, we know you're in town, or it's something that we can contact you and get you available. And I will be out of town from the 27th. September 27th to October 1st. So, just to let you know. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yes, we'll be sending that over to you. Any communications from anyone on the commission? Vice Chair Menace.
Yes, usual ex parte communications out to my email list. I need to remember to mention during roll call. Also had a brief conversation with Councilmember Murphy at the Art Walk about not item H1, but the item before H1, basically the prelude to this. He asked, what had been going on with this. We discussed it briefly. I don't actually recall any particular details of the conversation, but the Art Walk was lovely. Just figured I should mention it as an ex parte communication.
Any other communications? Nope. And with that, our next meeting, next regularly scheduled.
Excuse me, Chair, if I could interrupt them. I do see a hand raised in the public if we want to take a comment.
My apologies.
If the commenter is still there, this is the person calling with the phone number ending in 5748. I see the hand raised online. If you're still there, please press *6 to unmute.
You may begin the public comment whenever you're ready.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. This is Anthony. Senior citizen, longtime resident, over 50 years in Pinole. I kind of missed the part of the agenda going over the old Safeway Terra Hills project. And I just wondered whether it'd be okay to comment it on now or just wait till the next meeting, because you're going to bring it up regarding whether or not a few of these items might be included as an addendum to or that have been included, and maybe I missed something.
So if you wanted to comment something specific to the Safeway project, that will be coming back to the Planning Commission at the next meeting. You can choose to leave your comment there. We can't really. I actually think it would be okay. Correct, Planning Manager Hinham, if they can comment on something we've already kind of tabled.
Well, what he can do is he can send his comments to me anytime up until the next meeting, so that we have all those comments. It would be up to the commission or the chair to allow him to speak on that item. If you decide to do so, that would be a motion from the chair and approval of the commission to let him do that at this point.
Okay. In this instance, do we just want to let this person speak at the next meeting, or do we want? Okay. I think it would be best to bring the comments to the next meeting, or you can also give them in writing to the planning manager at D.
Oh,
Hanham.
all right. And then moving forward regarding the Commissioner Hannum's report, is there any updates on what's happening or not happening with the Faria House property and also that property adjoining the senior center, wedged in between the senior center parking lot and the other parking lot, being the status of those, as well as the property behind the, on Pinole Valley Road, behind the 7-Eleven building and the adjoining strip mall, donut shop business complex next to 7-Eleven in that back lot. And what's happening with the opening or delay of opening with the Diosa restaurant next to the Uptown Yard. And also the public, what's happening with the old Pinole Creek Cafe. I know Commissioner Bender mentioned it as somewhat of a, not so much as an eyesore and a public health and safety issue, but I think you people ought to drill down on that one because it's been there for so long and it's been reported to the city several times, but the city staffer departments have been sitting on their behinds to not do anything about it. It's definitely a public health safety fire issue with an old big dead tree hanging in the front yard and one half of an old big oak or pine tree hanging, sitting on top of the roof that's about to cave in. And all it's going to take is one little cigarette butt or a match from somebody on a bad windy day, and half the town might go up on that whole side of the street, if not both sides of the street. So they need to not only tax the property owner or have them maintain it like they should and would with other commercial property owners, but not just turn a blind eye because it's been vacant for so long and, you know, they got other things on their agenda. It should be a top priority as far as the general public is concerned. And I think half the people in the staff or in Pinole, they just maybe walk by it or drive by it every day and don't do anything about it. And I've been told that by one of your last staff directors or managers. Oh, I saw it the other day, but that's not my job or my department. Well, maybe you ought to be more transparent with other departments and communicate some of these things, whether they're coming directly or indirectly from the public to one of your staff heads in City Hall there. We're paying them the big bucks to push the envelope and make those decisions as such. And speaking of that, what's happening and why is Caltrans piecemeal the maintenance of our on-ramps and off-ramps? I saw them the other day finally cleaning up the west side of the Pinole Valley Road bowling alley on-ramp going towards San Francisco, but it's been blight and weeds and then on the other side as well with the off-ramp for several months. But they didn't address the big giant potholes on that side, and someone in City Hall and the staff needs to address those giant potholes right below Jack in the Box on ramp there. There are like half a dozen of them that have been brought to the city manager and other departments' attention, but nobody has decided to call them on that, or the fact that the light outage of Caltrans on the overpass there, the I-80 overpass on both sides of the freeway, saying I-80 eastbound, westbound.
Thank you. Your time is up.
San Francisco have
Please
been
wrap
out
up your comment.
for over six months now, and they haven't done anything to want to write them a letter or call them, and they put it up.
Thank you for your comment, but unfortunately you did run out of time. Planning Manager Hannum, is there anything that we would be able to respond to?
Yeah, I have some of the questions I have. Some of those are public works issues I don't have comments on. The Caltrans issue, they're work on Caltrans schedule, so I'm not quite sure where that again that's more of a public works issue. Regarding Diosa, I mean, yeah, they have their business license, they have their alcohol permit, so I think they're open. They're doing mostly catered events at this point. But yeah, they're still there. At least from our understanding, they're just not. I don't think they have their regular hours working at this point. But yeah, on that. Regarding the Faria House and the other properties, I know we put up a couple properties for sale, so they're up for sale right now. The Faria property, as well as I'm not quite sure which one, if it's the one over by Charles or the one by the senior center or not. But I know one of them is for sale, and then the other property, I know it's not the city. It's in the Public Works Department's hands, so I'm not quite sure what's happening with those properties. I'd have to find out on that. The old Pinole Creek. Don't know too much about what's happening there regarding the BCRE project. That's what he was referring to. We're behind the 7-Eleven. We're in contact with the developers, trying to make sure they're getting they're informing us that they're still interested in doing the project. He's just got some other projects that have kind of that has needed his attention a little more, and so we're working to get some more answers from that project. So that's all the question. Unless I'm missing something, is there anything another question?
I did have something to add for Pinole Creek. I did hear the code enforcement officer made contact with the owner, I think within the past month or so. So
okay.
I think there's something moving on that one.
Okay, good. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you both for the updates on that, Commissioner Bender.
I'll just say, with regards to the Pinole Creek Cafe, I did file a complaint with code enforcement, and they actually have opened a case. Even though that question was addressed to staff, I thought at least I'd fill in that information. That's it.
And we haven't had any development inquiries about that project. So
sounds good. Any Commissioner Martinez?
If I can just add one last thing before we close tonight. Planning Manager Hannum, I should have taken a picture of it this weekend, and sadly I was a little bit busy and couldn't, but can we put a call out to DeNova Homes, specifically the fencing? We know how that middle school's right across the street. This weekend, the fencing was completely down from the stoplight all the way to the northern part of the project, completely down. Fortunately, they got the fencing back up, but we cannot have something like that happen again because those little persons are curious. That's just the nature of it. So we've got to really make sure that they're doing their very best to keep that site secured at all times. So that would be the only thing I need to point out that I've seen around the community this last week. Thank you.
all right, we'll get in contact with them.
And any other communications or any final comments from the Commission? Sounds good. And with that, our next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting will be on September 22nd at 7 p.m. And with that, we will be adjourned.